Welcome to our what's fast becoming the Tuesday night or afternoon tradition. I don't know when we'll post this, probably late in the afternoon. Acre Pro buy sell, and Tom and I have had some fun doing this over the last few weeks. And when it comes to land sales, it pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists with decades of experience in Indiana agriculture. No one, including Tom Dienhart or myself, knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. Visit acrepro.com or call 765-587-3185 or talk to your local land expert today. Again, that number 765-587-3185. All right, Tom, we've had some fun doing this, and things are starting to get interesting with Purdue football, obviously with that 43-37 win over Nebraska. All right, I'm going to start with the old, and you'll have to tip your hand on Purdue's prediction. Purdue, we did a Monday Night Memories on Purdue running the table in 2000 with 4 consecutive wins in October. You've well chronicled the need for Purdue's ability to have a successful October. Well, they've won 3. Will they win 4? We'll start with that. You buying or selling that? Are they going to finally beat Wisconsin for the first time since 2003? We probably should have saved this to the end, but we're going to start with it.
I think they will. I mean, I never thought they had a good chance to be 4-0 this month, but like you said, they've already won their first 3. Not even the biggest Purdue Kool-Aid drinker could have seen this, right? To be 3-0 going into the last game of this month, and I think they're going to do it, Alan. Wisconsin's pretty banged up. They really don't have an offensive identity. I was talking last night to their play-by-play guy, Matt LePay, and that's kind of what he said. There's no identity on offense. They've been very self-destructive with penalties and turnovers as well. And again, if you look at the injury report that they put out yesterday, it's pretty lengthy. So plus, Alan, they're coming off what was a difficult loss at Michigan State last week, a pretty middling Michigan State team in overtime. So they're not coming in with a lot of mojo. But this will be Jim Leonhard's first game in Camp Randall as the interim head coach. They know there's a sense of urgency. We know the history between these schools, at least the recent history. So again, the Badgers have a lot of urgency here. But here comes white hot Purdue, Alan. And I think the Boilers are going to have enough. May not be pretty, but I think in the end they're going to have enough to get out of Madison with a W, which will be their first in this series since they won in Madison in 2003, which is a string of 15 losses in a row.
Yeah, ESPN Game Day was there that day. We ran a great picture of Arnett Tiller with Kirk Herbstreit. I can remember in our magazine, Purdue beat them on that day. I think both teams were ranked in the top 15. It was a Kyle Orton pass fest that game, 55 attempts, as I recall. And it was a game that Purdue, remember, that was the year that Kyle Orton managed the offense. He did not have a good day where he threw the ball a lot, except for the Wisconsin game. Jim Chaney and company, the offensive coordinator, saw something in that was the way they were going to move the ball, and they did. All right, I'm going to join you. I think I'm going to buy that as well. I think Purdue will get out of there and end this streak. And it is interesting because you're right, Jim Leonhard, it's going to be his first game back, but they really hit a rough patch last week, and it does sound like the Badgers are banged up. All right, Devin Mockobee, a big storyline, obviously, all-time freshman record. He beat out Brandon Jones, 165-yard effort against Northwestern back in 2002. Both guys are redshirt freshmen. Probably the other most notable freshman, Mike Northington, way back in 1973 with 5 touchdowns and 146 yards rushing. It was a Big Ten record, and he was a true freshman back in 73. Part of the Black and Gold twins, a politically incorrect name. He and Scott Durking were that back in those days. But we're digressing big time here. But all right, we're going to say Will Mockobee. We did a little of the research. We don't think there's been a 100-yard Purdue rusher against Wisconsin, maybe dating back to Ed Watson and Mike Allstott going crazy against the Badgers back in 1995. Might have been 97 though too, now that I think about it, because Watson started that game in the last Purdue win at home with an 80 or 75 yarder off the jump. But the point being, it's been a long time. Can he make 100 yards on Saturday? Devin Mockobee, who's become the flavor of the month in Purdue football.
I'd say yes. I'm not betting against this kid, Alan. And yeah, I've actually got pulled up here the AP story from November 4th, 1995.
Yeah.
And Watson and Allstott are in the lead. Of course, Mike Allstott, 204 yards rushing. Ed Watson had 194 yards rushing. They just battered the Badgers that day. So yeah, I'm not going to bet against Devin Mockobee. What's crazy is, there's nothing really remarkable about him physically.
Yeah.
He's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy. But there's just that that intangible, I guess, that you can't quantify in a tangible way. We all have seen him run, Alan. His ability to find holes, to always be moving forward, to cut and accelerate, and Allen never go backward either. He only had one negative yard rushing last week out of 178. Remarkable. No moment seems to be too big for the kid. And we've seen it on the road. We've seen it at home. And I think it's going to roll on. I know he's a little nicked up, but I think he's been a little nicked up most of the year. This is football. Everybody's nicked up come mid to late October. He'll be okay. He's going to start. And Allen, again, I'm not going to bet against him. And what a marvelous revelation for this season, right? I mean, you've added the ingredient of a legit running back to make this ground game have some teeth and some bite. And my goodness, what that does to that pass game for Purdue, it just makes it lethal, Allen. So you're talking about a Purdue offense that can really hit on all cylinders. We saw last week, right? Purdue probably should have scored 60 points. You can look at the stats, right? This offense is humming, and you got to credit Mockobee for providing a legit ground game to complement that always prolific pass game for Purdue.
Yeah, he has been terrific, and certainly is fun to watch. 38 first downs last week against Nebraska tied a record that was set against Wisconsin, which was kind of Jim Coletto's undoing. The game that Purdue completely dominated the Badgers in Wisconsin. Purdue lost that game back in 1996, despite Rick Tresker throwing for 328 yards and Ed Watson running for 99 yards. And to just go back to that 97 game, he did have a 75-yard run, but only finished with 92 yards. So I think we're right on that, the last 100-yard rusher. But the point is, it's tough sledding against Wisconsin typically. But I think if Purdue's going to do something big, I wouldn't be shocked if Mockobee can get to that 100-yard mark. That would be very, very impressive for him to do so against the Badgers. Aidan O'Connell, an interesting number that saw in the Purdue press notes yesterday that I hadn't realized. He has thrown for over 350 yards, I believe 12 times, but has never over 300 yards, I should say 12 or 13 times, whatever that number is, but none of them have, is it 12, and none of them have been under 350. So that's an amazing number in terms of 350-yard passing games. Wisconsin is, again, usually pretty good defensively. You buying or selling him over 350 yards this week against the Badgers?
I'm buying, Allen. I'm buying. He's dialed in right now. We talked about Jeff Brom's effusive praise in the post game on Saturday night. Jeff Brom is not somebody want to hyperbole, to outlandish, grandiose statements. So when he speaks, every word is measured and has value. And he referenced Aidan as being elite. And that's a pretty lofty word. And I think it's probably an apt description of what we saw from Aidan, especially late in that game, with some of those narrow windows that he was delivering the ball. There was great coverage, Allen. The ball had it seemed like about a 12-inch window to be delivered into if it's going to be caught. And Aidan delivered it, especially on that Charlie Jones 2-yard touchdown.
Yeah, that was terrific.
Wow. So Yeah, I don't see anybody slowing him down at this point. Confidence is a big thing no matter what you're doing in life. And he's got a lot of confidence right now. He's seen every kind of coverage scheme. He's not going to be fooled. He's not going to be flummoxed. He's got ice water in his veins. And Alan, we saw Charlie Jones reemerge last week in a very big way. We're seeing TJ Sheffield step up. Payne Durham's always Payne Durham. And we're seeing another walk-on too, Alan. Andrew Sowinski, redshirt sophomore from Bishop Chatard High School. Jeff Brom didn't want to call him their new Jackson Anthrop, but I'm going to call him the new Jackson Anthrop, okay? Because the comparisons are obvious and similar build, similar style player. Andrew's a little taller and just a guy that you can always count on, Alan. And we've seen him the last 2 weeks play a key role, and I imagine his role is going to continue to be at least of note moving forward to give Purdue yet another dependable option in the pass game as well. So it seems to be clicking really good for this offense right now.
And his numbers, Aidan O'Connell has quarterbacked at Wisconsin, by the way. He did quarterback the game back in 2019. And I think that obviously Purdue did not play Wisconsin in 20. And last year he was hurt and didn't get a chance to play against the Badgers, I believe is correct. And that Jack Plummer played that game. And that's incorrect. He did play last year. What am I thinking? He did do that. But again, in 2019, he did throw for 289 yards in that 45-24 loss at Wisconsin. And of course, last year at home, not a great performance for Purdue. Remember, the Boilermakers came into that ranked, and Aidan O'Connell in that contest did throw for 200 yards, 24 for 32. So I'm going to sell, and I'm going to say he's going to be under 300 yards. I don't think he's going to have, going to have a bad game. I just think maybe Purdue's going to try to run the football a little bit more than we anticipate. And I think that will be an interesting storyline to watch, because it is, he has been terrific. And I thought he was really an all-time best. So I'm not.
I wonder how many times Purdue has won when Aidan O'Connor's thrown for less than 300 yards.
Yeah, good question, and we'll have to look that one up, because it hasn't. He has been in that situation where he is when he's dominant, and he has been dominant. He's really been something to watch, and that's what's going to be a continued to be a storyline with Purdue is, can he continue to do that and play at that elite level?
Yeah, now I kind of wonder if people, sometimes I wonder this to myself, if we really understand what we're watching here with Aidan O'Connell. And you've got a long perspective on Purdue football. I know we're only a little over halfway through this year. You think when Aidan punctuates his career, you think he has a chance to be part of that career of quarterbacks?
Oh, I definitely do. If you look at where he is and the fact that he has has done the job in 4 consecutive, he's done it 4 years now. I mean, that's what's amazing. I mean, I know he was injured after week 2, and that didn't help him, but he has. Has been in that situation where he has certainly proven himself.
I do too.
In terms of. And I think he
belongs.
Yeah. And to answer your question, yes, Purdue has lost 3 games, the last 3 games of late, where he's thrown for over 350 against Ohio State, obviously, when he threw for 390.
I meant how many times have they won when he didn't throw?
Well, when he has thrown for under 350, a good question. I know they beat Nebraska last year when he threw for 233. They beat IU last year when he threw for under 300. They beat in Iowa he had 375, and of course they beat Illinois, though he came in off the bench and only threw for 182 yards in that one. But it's not all that common, certainly, in terms of where he has been and the job that he has done at quarterback, which has been really, really amazing.
Really, I mean, he is something else, man. I think he's really something else.
And you do look back at year one. And they did beat Iowa in the COVID year when he did throw for just 282 yards in that victory over the Hawkeyes. So it can happen,
Yeah.
and
It
we'll
can
see
happen.
what
I understand.
we'll see what does happen from that standpoint. Of course, a lot of conversation this week about the way that not only Nebraska but Purdue has struggled. And they did against Maryland too. Not as many deep balls, but that deep ball situation. Graham Burt and really, really catastrophic defensively for Purdue. Graham Mertz has had his ups and downs as a quarterback, though he is a high 4-star, low 5-star type guy. And I will throw that number at two. He threw for 182 yards last week. Will he be at 225? Let's set it at 250, because Purdue's defense has really struggled in the long passing game. Do you think the Badgers will try to dial that up from a long passing standpoint?
Yeah, I certainly think they will, and I certainly would if I was a coach. I mean, who wouldn't take your shots to see what you can do downfield throwing the ball? You got to think there's a crisis of confidence back there among the players, and there's been a lot of bleeding as far as allowing the big pass plays go. So, man, I tell you what, if I'm Wisconsin, Allen, first time I get the ball, I'm chucking it deep. I'm planting the seed in those guys' heads back there. We're coming after you. You better be ready. Graham Mertz, like you said, he was a very decorated recruit out of Kansas. Big get for the Wisconsin program. Has never really developed into the type of quarterback I think they thought he was going to be, but he's still deadly, Allen. And they're not loaded with weapons, though, obviously, from a receiving standpoint.
Yeah.
But still, you're going to take your shots. Braylon Allen's always going to be a focal point when you're playing Wisconsin. Just a terrifically physical, true sophomore running back we saw last year. Just a terrific running back. So, Purdue's going to want to try to contain him too, Allen. And, we've read this. Coaches have said it. You can't do everything on defense, right? What are you going to try to do? And Purdue always wants to try to slow the run down, and they've been very good at that. So when you do that, you're going to have to sacrifice something, usually in your back end. And these guys are on islands sometimes, and it's going to happen. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the coaches. I know what it's like to feel like the world's falling in on you, and everybody's against you. Everybody doubts you, but we'll see how they rise up. And it's an unfortunate circumstance, but Purdue's managed so far, right? They've led a lot. Heck, they could be. I was thinking about this, Alan. They won 5 of the last 6 games. The one loss was that game at Syracuse where they gave a pass with 7 seconds to go. They could be on like a 6-game winning streak. But I digress. They've got to step up and try to get it figured out. The personnel's the personnel, right? Chris Jefferson didn't play, which hurt. Jeff Brown's not sure when he's coming back from his mental health issues. So you're dealt the hand you have. T. Denton's not going to play this year, the transfer from Kansas State. I asked Coach Baum about that yesterday. You got 3 cornerbacks, a couple safeties. That's it. So again, this is where coaches earn their money and players earn their scholarships.
Yeah, last year's game, which is no indication, certainly Wisconsin, they got well in that game. They only threw 8 times against Purdue last year. Again, far different situation. Purdue's run defense, but Purdue gave up 290 yards rushing. Chaz Malusi, who I believe is out, right?
He's out. He's out.
But actually led the Badgers in rushing last year, 149 yards. Braylon Allen, in only 12 carries, picked up 140 and 2 touchdowns. So this is, I think it will be a big job to keep them under 100 yards. But I do think that can Purdue slow Mertz down? It's going to be interesting. Like you said, I think it would stand to reason that they will try to hurt Purdue deep, just because just about everybody has, and certainly of late. And that's going to be a storyline that we're watching too. Okay, another buy sell, not to be a little bit snarky, try not to be too snarky. Will Purdue give up points in the final 4 minutes of the second quarter? Buy or sell?
At this point, I guess buy it. I gotta believe it's gonna happen until I'm not gonna believe it until I see it, I guess. That's been exasperating on a number of fronts this year, and just momentum killing, buzz killing, deflating. To have that happen to you right before the half, and to go in the locker room with that hangover, if you will. So I guess I'm gonna believe it when I see it. So at this point, I guess I'm I'm buying the fact that yes, Purdue will continue to be snake bitten when it comes to giving up points at the end of a half.
Yeah. And as you said, Purdue, you have to hope that it does have the what a difference a year makes, because just in that entire game, yeah, you want to stop them at the end of the half. But if you look back at the numbers too last year, I mean, David Bell, I'd forgotten this, had 6 catches for 33 yards last year. So again, we're talking apples and oranges. The Badger team dinged up, but they did do a really good job on Purdue last year. Payne Durham had the big day with 112 yards, but again, their long pass play was just 24 yards. So that will be an interesting thing that you're going to have to watch to see if Purdue can move the football consistently from and do it without turning the ball over. And turnovers have been a big storyline too with this team, but you know, you have to figure out a way to do this, and Purdue's been winning some games with wind turning the ball over throughout the month of October. Wisconsin can tend to make it. Yeah, go ahead.
About this, they're even in the turnover margin right now. I think
yes,
12 takeaways, 12 giveaways. You're right. It's been a glut of late of giveaways, but this could be a buy-sell thing too.
Fire away.
The remarkable ability of this defense to respond to a sudden change after a Boilermaker offensive turnover has been remarkable.
Yeah,
I think one of the key backbones of this winning streak. Obviously, how many times do you hear about they score so many points off of turnovers? Purdue's not giving up points off turnovers, Alan. I think they've committed, I want to say 7 turnovers this month. I think they've only got 3 points off of 7 turnovers. Think about that.
That's really impressive.
Off 7 turnovers, and they're playing close games. So if they're busting and not responding, they're losing these games. They're turning the ball over. The opponent's not scoring. Purdue's winning close games. So there you go. That's been huge. For all the punches this defense sometimes takes from fans and critics, it still has done a lot of good things, and that's definitely one of them. I think is the ability to respond to that adversity and that sudden change, to go run out on the field when you didn't plan to run out on the field and not give up any points. I mean, that's been huge. 3 points off 7 turnovers. At Minnesota, Allen, they gave up 0 points off 3 turnovers in a 20-10 game. Just unbelievable. So I know you're playing with fire here, and the law of average is probably going to catch up to you. But man, I just wanted to mention that. And you know, like I said, Purdue doesn't want to keep rolling the dice and commit multiple turnovers, because defense is going to bust at some point. So you don't want to give Wisconsin any easy opportunities, obviously, through giving them turnovers in short fields.
All right. I think that's an excellent point, and really been something that Purdue it's kept the Boilermakers in games. And when you hold Minnesota to 10 points, it's impressive, even though I know that the Gophers were shorthanded. But that's again, you got to take what you can get and go from there. Okay, last one: buying or selling Illinois as the favorite coming in for the rest of this Big Ten season. Obviously, the Illini, I believe, have to go to Michigan, but they have a schedule outside of Purdue that's really conducive to winning. I mean, the other 3 games are games that I would expect them to win. I believe they've got Northwestern in there as well. I think that gives them an opportunity to go. But who's the favorite going in? Are you buying or selling Illinois as the favorite heading down the stretch?
I think it's Purdue, not to sound like a pom-pom shaker or a homer, but if you even compare the resumes, Alan, and I know Purdue's got 2 losses and Illinois only has 1, but Illinois they beat Wyoming, they beat Virginia, which is terrible, Chattanooga, they won at Wisconsin, we know their issues, and they beat Iowa and Minnesota, and they lost at Indiana, Alan. Purdue's 2 losses are quality losses, right? They lose at home to I still think a very good Penn State team by 35-31. Then you lose, as we talked about, at Syracuse 32-29. The game they basically gave away. So I'm leaning toward Purdue. I think they've done more. I think their losses are better, even though there's more of them as well. I'm going Boilermakers. I know Illinois has got a great defense. Maybe it's better than Purdue's. We'll see when they square off here in a few weeks. I think the Boilermaker offense is better. I think they're better under center. I know Illinois has got a great running game with Chase Brown, but that pass game always gives Purdue a lot of options. We've talked about the balance too. So I'm going to say Purdue's should be considered a slight favorite to win the Big Ten West. Real quick, Alan, to recap the Illinois remaining schedule, they're off this week and they're at Nebraska, Michigan State, and Purdue at home, and they finish up at Michigan and at Northwestern.
Yeah, and the game at Nebraska could be dangerous for them too. That's true. So that part of it will be is. I'm with you on that a little bit. I think the fact that Illinois runs the ball the way it does, yes, the quarterback situation, the quarterback's healthy. That makes a difference for the Illini. It was amazing in the game against Iowa how little offense there was, but I think Purdue can slow down Chase Brown. Mm-hmm. They do this week against Braylon Allen, but I think that if history's any teacher, Purdue's run defense is as good as it's been, maybe dating back all the way back to 2003 in terms of a Boilermaker defense from that standpoint. So, all right, my friend, I think we've come to the end of another fine episode of Buy Sell. We want to thank obviously our wonderful sponsor, Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group. Visit acrepro.com or call 765-587-3185 and talk to Kyle Sprayer, your local land expert today. We appreciate, Tom, all your insight into this, and we'll look forward to another week of coverage when your trip up to Madtown, always an interesting thing. You'll be doing the jump around in the press box in the third quarter. It shakes, doesn't it? Is that true?
Yeah, it does. It shakes a little bit too. It's always a little bit unnerving, Alan. So
I was going to say, does that make you nervous to be sitting there? Are you someone that's? I
trust all those smart Wisconsin people to build a sound structure up there. So I put my faith in all the Badger engineers and technology that we won't come tumbling down on the field.
All right. That's good to know, my friend. All right. Again, thanks again, Tom, and we'll see you next week. Actually, we'll have one because Purdue will be into its bye week. We'll have one in 2 weeks leading into the game against Iowa, right? And who knows? We might sneak an extra bonus issue in next week.
November 5th, Iowa.
All right, sounds good, Tom. Thanks again, and we'll look forward to a interesting week in Purdue football. They seem to be all interesting. There's a lot to play for Purdue. Again, thanks to Acre Pro, and we'll talk to you next week.